A woman should be who and what she wants. We support the multifaceted woman. The woman embracing many titles, undertaking different ventures, and building generational wealth. You are a Jackie of all trades, master of your empire. Enterprise Empress, you are an unstoppable force. Welcome back, Empresses, and thank you for tuning in to another week of our show. We are excited to be here today. I'm your co-host, Sharon Coleman.
I'm Natalie Rowe.
And we are here with Today's Jackie Show. We call this Today's Jackie because we have a Jackie of all trades, master of her empire in the building.
We are talking with multifaceted women from the community who wear many titles, undertake many ventures while building generational wealth. So we're super excited to have with us today Miss Atita Finch.
Wait a minute. She says we have to put the middle name in it, right?
Well, actually, it's my first name. Yes. Oh, I have a middle name too. But I think we can chat about that, the importance of naming and the name that your parents gave you and having people use your name. Me and my sisters always say, oh, you got to use your whole mouth for this.
Yes. Tell us the whole name. Tell us the whole name and your titles, because we're all about women who wear multiple titles and are learning how to balance them. So tell us your full name and titles and put a queen on it. Yes.
Thank you all so much. And thank you for having me. I am Itita Nefertari Isamilia Finch. Shout out to Positive and Spice for crowning me with that. And shout out to my husband for branding me with my new last name, Finch. I serve as the assistant principal at Dr. Michael M. Kropp Senior High, so I work in that administrative capacity with Miami-Dade County Public Schools, as well as the director of programs with Dibia Dream. And Dibia Dream is a nonprofit educational organization that has scale and scope within the city, the state, the nation, and the world. And lastly, but definitely not leastly, co-founder of Act Nation, and that is activating community transformation within youth and leadership development. So we started within my micro environment at Dr. Michael M. Kropp. So my 8 stripes, they're there, and you'll be hearing more from us within the year coming. So that's me, but that's Itita Nefertari Isamilia Finch. But on my best days, I'm just TT. I'm just TT, and I'm very happy to be here with you all today.
Thank you.
We're
Do you
so
guys
happy
see
to
how
have
she looks
you.
like a
Thank
queen
you.
today?
Yes.
Like every day, Itita looks amazing every
Thank
time
you,
I see
Sharon.
her. So hi, queen.
Thank you, Sharon.
Hey,
Hey,
queen. Can we say queen? What should we say, Queen Tari today?
We can go with Queen Tari, Queen
Tari.
T, Itita. Mix it up.
Let's mix it up. Okay, so we also have our certified Empress, Lady Hornsby.
I missed you guys so much. This is just that's like the highlight of my Friday, my every other Friday. So happy to be back.
I'm glad to have you.
Nady always blesses us with a guard your genius tip. So she tells you how to protect your brand. We were just talking about how we don't want to put creativity above legality.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You know, you could be famous and broke.
Right.
Many of them are.
So we want you to be famous with generational wealth.
Right.
So let's get into it with Itita.
Yes, with Queen T. So Queen T, as you went through your titles, what I heard was leader. Like in every aspect, every organization, you're a leader. So tell us what inspires you.
Well, if I'm being honest, and I know that my mom is logged in and she will attest to this, I have always been what they would define as a reluctant leader, right? So when you test gifted and you're in these certain spaces and people expect you to lead. And And I'll be honest with you, there's this common misconception that you're either born a leader or you're not, right?
We talked about that. Yes. We talked about
that. It's a common misconception, right? Now, let's be clear. There are certain people, I'm one of those people.
Come out the belly.
The Lord's gifted you with it, right? But he's gifted you with it for your kingdom work. But leadership is very much a skill, right? So you can build that skill, just like dribbling a basketball, repetition, corrective feedback, doing things with a certain level of diligence. And leadership is the same way. So I've been that way. I will be honest with you. I have always said this and felt this. The Lord has gifted me with leadership, but as I move into certain spaces, I have to build that skill. It's like a muscle, right? The skill set that I need within the public education space looks different from what I need in a nonprofit space, looks different from what I need within my family space.
Right.
So that would be my caveat as far as leadership. If you're wanting to move in that space, you can move in that space. Engage yourself in things like leadership clubs, volunteer for leadership roles. What are certain research? What are certain skill sets, characteristics that make strong leaders?
Do you see why she's a principal? Because
assistant principal. Don't push it. From your lips to God's ears, but let's let the Lord work their plan now.
Let's not hurry it along.
Assistant principal, but I always see her as, since we're speaking about the Lord, you are the first, right? So I'm claiming principal on her because we need to make sure we're highlighting people and leaders like you that take every opportunity to teach not only children, but their peers. Even in just that simple question, you dropped like a million nuggets to remind us of what it means to be a leader and how to keep expanding on that leadership.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I always think about it like this. You know how there are gifts in the spirit, right? And I've always, and let's go. My gift is teaching, and in that there's so much leadership, right? When you're teaching, when you're giving information, and you don't necessarily have to be the sage on the stage. If you're doing it the right way, what you're doing is empowering other leaders. You're building the capacity of your team, the people around you, so that it's light work at this point,
the core of leadership is people, right? The core of leadership is people. It's how you impact people, how you motivate people, how you carry yourself that changes things around you.
Absolutely.
So tell us, what motivates you?
So what motivates me? I am I will say that I define myself as, an introvert, extrovert. I am
introvert. Where?
Where? No, listen, I'm really a husband.
Can we get her husband, Will?
No, I like journaling and like reading and reflecting in the long time. But listen, I only say that to say this. That don't mean, now listen, but when the Lord calls me to battle, I'm ready. I am that. But I say that to say this, as far as what inspires me, the little things are not lost on me, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, I got my hair braided maybe 3 weeks before school got out in preparation for the summer. I like to be a mermaid all summer, right? And I'm telling you all, within not even a week, the amount of girls that I saw with extended braids, and not just extended braids, but like styling it with up nines, because I remix it, right? And those are the things, because to me, it's like, if something is it's insignificant, right? It's your hair, you get your hair braided, everybody's getting braided down for the summer. But I'm talking about to the point where it's extended, the styling, the wrapping. That means to me that nothing is lost on them, so nothing should be lost on me.
Right.
And even in the small things, I have to be so cognizant, so intentional about how I move, how I represent myself in the spaces that I go in. That keeps me alive, man. That keeps the fire in me. I'm like, man, look at these girls.
That's beautiful. I love it. Lady, that tell everyone, because we posted this on our social media. I don't know if you
it.
saw that.
I-
So how
I
many
saw it.
girls, so Black girls, do you have at your school that you're assistant principal?
Okay,
And tell
yes.
us why that's so important to what motivates you.
Yes, and I saw that you all pulled that out from our pre-interview. So I have 416, and this was the previous school year, African American female students at our school. Now, of course, I know that I have 516 Hispanic, 324 white. So I care about all my students, but the reason that I keep a sticky note of that again is because representation matters.
Yeah.
Right.
Even when we think about what's happening right now in this dialogue about should we teach critical race theory within educational settings,
I know.
you're talking about, and look at me, I'm a little Black girl from Liberty City that grew up in a single parent home against all the odds. I work and operate in the space and leadership as a little Black girl from Liberty City in a system that was never constructed for me. Right? So when we think about the history and the lineage of public education, there was no space for me. There was no space for me as a girl. There was no space for me as a leader. There was no space for me as an administrator. And this is a system that, and listen, this is going to be a little controversial, but just lean in. Lean in. I promise there's growth on the other side. This is a system that has not necessarily been deconstructed and reconstructed, right? There have been some things that have been added, augmented, supplemented to assuage us.
Right.
However, when I go into a space of representation in a building, right, these are girls that are bombarded with images on social media. These are girls that are over-sexualized in a certain way in media because they're Black girls, because they develop in a certain way.
Right.
We got to thank our ancestors for that. Them girls can't burden that. But these are the things that are important. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that are important for me. So when I'm in that building from 7:20, I try and get there a little earlier. From 7:20 to 4:30. Early is on time. From 4:30. I want to make sure that they have something when they look at me, even if it's, dang, I see my favorite kindergarten teacher. I see a little bit of my mom, my aunt, my favorite big cousin, my big sister. That is never lost on me. That is never lost on me.
Right. So you keep a sticky note of the number of Black girls that are in your school on your wall to remind you of that representation every day.
And I times that by 2. That's how many eyes are on me.
Right.
In an intentional way. Not to say that the other girls are not looking up to me as a female role model, because they are and they do. And we engage in such a way. We're such a multicultural demographic. If you look at our demographic of students. But again, it is my responsibility to teach pride and self.
Right.
They ain't gonna do it.
That's right.
Exactly.
Okay, so I take that very
And that
serious.
wasn't on the job description.
That is not.
It's
That's
not.
not in my contract.
That's what makes her a leader. That's why I always say principal, because I'm like, wherever she goes, she carries herself as the head, the principal, the CEO, the boss.
And I think that's a mindset, and it's something that the expert and I were talking about earlier. Listen, people can slap titles on you all day long, right? Like a director, manager, this, whatever. And that's fancy and that's good for the gram. I get it. I get it. However, if your hard work is not behind what is required in that space, then you begin to compromise a system that's so much bigger than you.
Right.
And that's something that I'm just very reflective on daily.
And you see those people where they have titles and then they get in and they say, I'm director. You like, child, that person don't do nothing. Right. But it's the people behind them. It's the people that really take pride in their work ethics, take pride in how they impact others, takes pride in what you said. What you said is what's happening beyond you. What impact am I leaving in this space that's going to change someone's life or going to make my life better, their life better, or that's going to make the world and the community better. So with saying that, Atita, you work in education and in nonprofit, right? So we kind of want to talk on that because I think right now in this timing of coming out of the pandemic, it's so important that communities, education systems, and nonprofits and parents are working together so that our kids can surpass these limitations that have been put on them because of the pandemic. So let's talk about that. Like, what are nonprofits, especially in the STEM and what you do with Dibia, what are nonprofits needing to know, and what are educational systems needing to know, and what are parents needing to know so that we can collectively impact kids so that they're not left behind?
That's a good question, Sharon. And it's loaded, right? Because we know that money makes all of these things go around. Be very clear. We can do the best of our work from bell to bell, right? That's when school's in session. But if we don't have local organizations, government organizations, if we don't have $5 billion corporations funding certain programming, then we're not wrapping around. Right. So what happens during those critical out of school hours, during the summer, during after school, on the weekends, we need to really be addressing what do we have in place to keep students engaged. And here's the gag, Sharon. It ain't just what we need to do to engage the students anymore. You all have seen this pivot with COVID going digital. The parents have to be engaged in the process. And now, I don't know if our audience knows this, but you all are our A team on Dibia, our operations team, right? And you all joined the team right as we were going into that huge pivot. But
we were going virtual because of the pandemic.
Exactly. Right. So what can we do as organizations? But again, this comes back to funding. We want to engage the parent. We want to make sure the parent knows how to operate the student portal. On the weekends, if we're doing virtual STEM Saturday, we want to create space for the parent to connect with the student in that learning. We want the learning from after school to build and scaffold upon what they're doing from bell to bell. But listen, we can have the vision, but if it's not being funded, that's the issue. And one of the old sayings, and I love this, and you hear the old school politicians say it, show me your budget and I'll show you what your priority is, right? Exactly. So if education is not being prioritized, if wraparound services are not being prioritized, if funding in STEM in under-resourced communities. I'm not talking about in the communities, they got STEM, they got 3D, they got Googles, they got labs. Child, them kids on their wrist, doing STEM. I'm talking about bringing that level of technology in the middle of Liberty City, the Liberty City Elementary, to Arcola Elementary, and showing those kids, and be clear, these kids are brilliant. Oh, yeah. These kids are resourceful.
They just need the resources.
Exactly. Right. We need to, and then you're talking about deserts as far as digital access, technology, Wi-Fi. So what are we doing to fund those things? And so that's a large part of my work in the nonprofit space, is bringing our story of what we have done with STEM education to people that can fund it. And our founder, Brandon O'Polaby, he's done a great job scaling us, and it's just setting a vision, right? So, he has a vision. I come in as the director of program, and you just bring in this educational pedagogy. Okay, this is how we can execute it, but none of that happens without the funding. So we just want to keep telling our story and tapping into the resources that's available and calling upon organizations like Chick-fil-A. We just won the True Award. Organizations like Chick-fil-A,
congratulations on that. Don't skip past that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wait, what does Natalie call it? You say share joy that we do on the show?
Share some joy.
That is a lot of joy. I've been eating at Chick-fil-A for the last 2 weeks. I'm like, Chick-fil-A is really a company after my own heart. Yeah. Chick-fil-A, AT&T, Crystal Cove. And these are people that just support us, but we need to really build that fuel behind it for certain organizations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's shift a little bit. Your wife, you're a philanthropist, your daughter, your sister. How do you balance all of those titles? How do you balance your family and your community responsibilities and your responsibilities to Miami-Dade County Public Schools?
So how you balance being a director and assistant principal
how
in
do
the
you-
same thing? That's a
How do you
lot.
balance that?
You know, I just want to be clear. None of this happens through my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I am able to do, everything that I am able to accomplish day to day, even right now, getting ready, we have a cultural immersion in
Right.
Costa Rica with one of
Right.
our partners, Leading with Love.
We're taking girls, right?
Yes,
to
we're
Costa Rica.
taking 7 girls to Costa Rica for a cultural immersion. I'm leaving on Monday. You know, none of this, the planning, the organization, and shout out to my friends while you all visit her on Instagram. Please give. We're leaving on Monday. None of this happens without an absolute download from the Holy Spirit daily.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm talking about, Lord, make your word as a light unto my path. Lord, I know you have created me for such a time as this. I have to affirm myself daily. I get tired. I get frustrated. You know, sometimes I called Sharon last night with an emergency. Oh, Lord, this box, 70 pounds. How we going to get it to Costa Rica? The kids need the kits. You know, these are things that are happening daily. And at the same time, I'm cooking dinner. My husband's there. I want to make sure I'm spending time with him. I'm connecting with him before I'm gone for a week.
Right.
It's so important to set, and I want to choose my words very carefully, because listen, I'm a woman that's in a constant state of becoming, right? So I am still becoming a wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I was intentional about is knowing what my husband's love language is, knowing what he needs of me. I know what my family needs of me, and I know very clearly what my job responsibilities are. However, I prioritize, you know,
Mm-hmm.
nothing comes before them. Nothing before, as far as my time with the Lord, connecting with him, getting guidance from him, and then his family. And I find that everything falls into place. Once you give your day to the Lord, you give your time to the Lord, you give your treasures, your talent to the Lord, he really works everything out for me. Because if you know me, child, I be just a real Aquarian sometimes. But God.
But you know, that goes to the representation that you were talking about, that the girls see in you. Because I was just thinking when you were saying that, I did a vision board from when I went to college, and it was like first God, second family, third purpose, and fourth, I wanted money.
Okay.
Right? Because you leave out of high school, this is clear, right?
We can't do the Lord's work broke.
Right.
Just be clear about that. Okay, we can't do the Lord's work
And I
broke.
think now, like, where did I get that from? How did I know at such a young age that I needed to do God, family,
Yes.
purpose, money? And it's like you were saying, women like you, I saw women and I saw myself in them. And then I was able to articulate, what are they doing? And like, just you being here and being so open and so direct about God being your priority, your first, and your family being your secondary. And then everything else falls into place. When you see that in women, then you can, other girls and other women can emulate that and can grow in that as well. They want to know, how are you doing that? And then they say, okay, well, let me get to know God. Well, let me get to know myself, and let me spend more time with my family. Let me figure out what my purpose is. And look, now I have money.
And I don't want girls to like get caught up in thinking like, because social media I love social media because I use it for what it's meant for, right? But when we think about our younger generations, it can be very detrimental, right?
Yes.
It creates this image. It shows you like the tip of the iceberg of the reality of a whole thing.
Right.
And at no point do I want women to feel like there's some magic wand. You know, I'm just out here just killing it. Child, please. You know, you have to find some balance. You have to find balance. And in that balance, when you, again, submit things unto the Lord, you'll find that things just, the Lord makes the path very clear for you.
He
Makes it very clear
He
for
does.
you.
So before we switch to Nady with the Garter Genius tip, there's a scripture that talks about a good name and wanting to have a good name and it being respected. As you talk, this whole time we've been on here, all I hear is a good name. And remember that as long as you do what God is calling you to do, he's going to open up doors.
Yeah.
He's going
That's
to
right. That's
pour out
good.
blessings that you have not room to receive.
Oh, that's so good.
Even though you may not be ready to go into that principal lane, and that may not be what he's calling you to in this space, just know that the work that you're doing is not in vain, that he sees it and he's preparing your table.
Oh, absolutely.
So just be prepared for whatever is coming.
And I believe that. I believe that the
Yeah.
Lord always prepares us for what's
He
coming
always
next.
prepares
He
us.
always prepares
Yeah.
us for
And
what's
you
coming
look good
Yeah.
sitting in this chair doing interviews. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but you're real comfortable
Look.
speaking
I'm
and
just chatting with my girls. I do that all day. I sent the post to my friends in different group chats. I say, yeah, y'all tune in if y'all can. I'm just be talking about what we always talk about anyway. No, what we talk about in the group chat.
right. This is normal. And she texted, she said, do we need to do a run through? I said, no, you just gonna be chatting with your girls. That's it. We're gonna be sharpening
I
each
love
other.
that. Look at me. Can't get out of administrative mode. If you all need to FaceTime me for the run through, I'm on the expressway, but I'm available.
Right.
Continuously.
So, Nady, before we get out of here,
Sure.
what do you have for us today?
So one of the questions that we keep getting when it relates to trademarks is what's the difference between having your name registered in the state or registered on a federal national level? And the answer is very simple. So when we think about trademarks, is how we protect the integrity of our brand, right? So that other people can capitalize or monetize on our ideas. When you get your brand name trademark in the state, you're protected in that state. But the internet has erased borders, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation, with someone in New York today. So our clients are all over the country. We should be protecting our brand across the country, not just in our state. So that is the main difference between the two. And when you're thinking about building a brand for the long haul, you want that level of protection.
Because you want to go global.
Right.
Really, you want to
You want to go
global.
global.
So to even think about the state, why are you doing that?
Right. You want to
No
go
need to
global.
set yourself and think
You don't have to
about
see it.
Exactly.
That's
And
good.
you don't get the benefit of the circle R at the end of your brand name, right? Which gives the brand some
Yeah.
credibility when people see that it's a registered trademark. You can't do that with a state registration.
That's good information.
That's a great
Yes.
tip.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Great
Thank you.
tip. Can I ask a follow-up question?
Of course.
What about folks who have questions and concerns about trademarking intellectual property?
So intellectual property is the umbrella for our property of our ideas and our thoughts, right?
Mhm.
So the trademark protects your brand identity. So your slogan, your logo, your brand name. Copyright protects more artistic work, like if you wrote a book or a screenplay. So intellectual property is just the umbrella of the property of your thoughts. We think of property as like a car or a house,
Yeah.
but in reality, your idea, that brand that you're thinking about launching, that's your property, right? So intellectual property law creates this legal framework to allow you to protect that, the same way you would protect your car or your house.
So it's your vision's insurance.
I love that.
That's really
I love
good.
that.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
By the way, I want to tell you, you look so fabulous. You just
You
came back from
are
vacation and you
It's
can
like
see
this
it. You look
effortless,
like
like
you just
kind of
came
like
back
a
from
wash
a
and go.
trip.
Just like, let me
I
throw
put
this
the wash
on.
and go from yesterday. So I am proud that it's still doing something. Right?
You look good.
Thank you.
So look, if you want to find or follow Itida to learn more about her nonprofit, the nonprofit that she works with, Dibia Dream with STEM for Kids, as well as the work she's doing at her high school, they can go to...
They can visit me at my personal Itida Finch Facebook, or you can follow Dibia Dream on Instagram and Facebook at Dibia Dream. Also follow Leading with Love. I'm a board member, active board member. You can follow them. That is important.
That is an important
Listen,
distinction.
don't be out here just collecting
Don't
titles.
do it.
Don't do it. If you're on the board and someone's entrusted you with some work, do the work,
Do the
beloved.
work.
They
Do the
need
work. Move out the
you.
way.
They need
Exactly.
you. Check out Leading with Love Inc. Instagram, Facebook. Please, we're leaving. We're going on the cultural immersion trip on Monday. You can donate. We have a giving wheel. It's $25 to $300. So do that. And also, if you want to check out what's happening at Dr. Michael M. Crop Senior High, the best and brightest high school in Miami-Dade County Public School, where the 3 A's matter: academics, activities, and athletics. You can check us out at www.michaelmcrop.org.
Did you see me just like turn into like I was watching the show with you? Like I forgot that I was on the show. I was watching.
So why am I taking notes?
You taking notes?
I was
This is the quietest Nady has ever been for a show. Nady didn't have any questions. Nady was like,
I was being spoken to. Like, that was all that word was for me.
Taking it all in. Nady, where can we find you on social? Where can people find you?
On IG at Guard Your Genius. Get it?
Guard your
Guard
genius.
your
I love
genius.
that.
guard your
Yes.
genius.
I love
Yes.
that. I love
Yes.
that.
And you can follow us at Enterprise Empress. Look, this is our 6th show, I think, or 7th show. Y'all, we are trying. We are trying.
It's
So
amazing.
follow us. Get on our IG, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube. Thank you again for tuning in to our show.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you for having me. I had a
Queen
good time.
Nefertari.
We had a
Yes.
great time.
Yes, y'all
I
know
know
y'all
that.
can invite me
Part
back
two.
anytime to chat.
You know you're in good company when you get to laugh and smile the entire time.
Yes.
And you have that
Yes.
effect on people. We laugh
Always.
and we
Aw.
smile and we get personal, but we have fun doing it. So thank you for tuning in with us. And remember, like she said, just don't get titles for your crown. Make sure you pick the ones that really matter to you. And when you wear it well.
Absolutely.
Wear it well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you in 2
Bye,
weeks.
guys. See you
Bye.
Bye.